So take a look at your shoes, the shoes that you chose to wear today. Mine just happened to be blue suede shoes. Yes. So just notice what you chose to wear today and what the shoes that you have on say about your journey of life. What do they say about where you've been, where you're going, where you are right this minute? So our shoes create the footprint that we leave on the earth as we walk our life journey. And our shoes change throughout our life, but our shoes are important, even so much so that there's a Bible verse that talks about shoes. In the Song of Solomon, it's a love story. And the words are, "How beautiful are thy feet with shoes, O prince's bride." So never underestimate the power of our shoes. So while they can be attractive and supportive and comfortable or not, the bigger question is, where are our shoes taking us? What journey are we traveling? Where are we going? And what adventures will we have? We all start out as newborns, and we begin to crawl, and then we stand up and walk. And a lot of us, our first shoes were those white high-top shoes, right? The stride right shoes that helped us get the right stride. They supported our ankles as we learned to walk and take our baby steps and get our strength. Now, we balanced ourselves with our arms, and we probably fell a lot. But every time getting back up, because that urge of life in us was to walk forward, to take our steps forward. And after falling, we would get up and start all over again. Now, those are the first steps in our life, and those baby steps are the first steps we take in every phase of our life, every new phase, every new adventure. And when we grow through life and we learn our strength, we learn just how strong we are. And we learn our resilience, our ability to recover when we've fallen down or been knocked down or whatever happens in life. With every fall, we have gotten back up, and we're here today as evidence of that. And when we can walk steady, we can accomplish everything. But it's a practice, right? And all of this life has been the practice. And how we navigate life depends on how we're able to become that wee child just learning how to walk. Stand up and practice and do over and over again to grow that resilience in life and learn how to walk. And, you know, my Bible tells me that unless we become like a child, we'll never enter that kingdom of heaven. And that's the richness of life. That's the unlimited possibilities in life. So we have to take that mind of a child and enter into that infinite possibility. So as adults, we so often see a very narrow view of possibilities. We might have one or two or three options, but as a toddler, the whole world is ours. Our imagination flourishes as we're young children, and we learn how to not be that. But here we learn to become that. And as we become like that child, we live in that field of infinite possibilities. And we take those baby steps, those new baby steps in every part of our life. When we go from adolescence to teens, oh my, there's some stumbling and falling in those years, as we learn how to live with peer pressure and such. And then we move into adulthood, and we stumble and fall, and we get back up again. from single life to married life, and for many, back to single life again, from an individual to a family, and navigating life with children and jobs and such. And then we enter midlife. And boy, there's some stumbling and falling and tripping around there, huh? Mm-hmm. And then to senior life, and oh boy, that's an adventure. There's some learning new ways to stand and be and practice that resilience and to practice being strong. And all of those thresholds of life bring us back to a time where we don those baby shoes, take a few steps, fall down, get back up, gain our balance, find the joys, find the preciousness in every moment, in every phase of life. The adventures of my baby shoes led me to running shoes. Running shoes have been a really meaningful shoe in all of my life. For many, many years, I carried running shoes and running gear in the back of my car in case I had the urge or the opportunity to go for a run. And that happened often. And I did a lot of running. For many years, my husband at the time and I ran together. Every day we would go for a 10K run, and it was our social life. We ran a lot of races together. It was a mainstay in our married life, staying in good shape, running together. And then children arrived, and it was a beautiful blessing to have these children. But we couldn't. One would stay home with the children while the other went to run. And as life happens, as it does, those forever vows dissolved, and I found myself still running a lot. Now I was running away from the experiences of life. I was running away from the sadness of divorce. I ran away from the fear of how I and my children would survive as a family unit, or even one day thrive. I kept running away from the loneliness of being a single parent. I had 3 children. There was 3 of them and only 1 of me. That was an interesting imbalance of life. And I ran away from the overwhelming feelings of just everyday living. The work, the house, the kids, just everything that we experience when we are raising a family. I ran further and further and further and ran a couple of marathons. And yet, looking back on those days of great uncertainty, now I can see that as I ran, I was mentally and physically knitting myself back together. My heart was mending. I could see places in life where I felt glimmers of happiness. I could feel joy from time to time. And now I started running towards life instead of running away from life. I was running towards life and my future. And Jeremiah 29 became one of my inspirations. And it says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord." And for us, the Lord is our highest consciousness, our divine self. So I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and not to do harm, plans to give you hope and a future. And what that future held, I had no idea, but I hung on to that the future was bringing better things, that I was becoming resilient, I was becoming sturdy in my stance, and I was walking again. I was no longer paralyzed by fear, and I was now filled with the anticipation of what life would bring. I was filled with looking forward to goodness, to joy and happiness and love. And today I still wear running shoes, but my pace has slowed dramatically. I walk. So what used to be a long distance was a 25, 30-mile run is now a 4-mile walk. But that's okay, because that's still good. I'm still upright and walking. So I walk differently. Now I walk through my days with purpose. I walk through my days with confidence that each day, each and every day, is bringing something marvelous. And it doesn't have to be an explosive day. It can be a simple day. I've developed a practice of back porch sitting. And every day I allocate time to sit on my back porch, in a rocking chair, of course, and just notice the birds and the squirrels and the hawk that visits. And just notice the gifts of nature. And that's a good thing, just sitting and noticing. So that purpose in life changes, that feeling in life from fear and paralyzed by fear to that confidence of walking mindfully on the earth, honoring nature, honoring the days. And I know without doubt that every day has a morsel of wonder, has a morsel of goodness, and has a morsel of happiness. And because I live close to my grandchildren, it has lots of morsels of love. And I say I walked by spirit, and there's a couple of scriptures that have become meaningful, and Galatians 5 is one of them. And it says, I say, walk by the Spirit, and you will not gratify the desires of the flesh. Because we're here in these bodies for a short time, but we are eternally spirit. So we live by that spirit, by that greater part of ourself. And this human experience is wonderful, but it's limited. That spirit part of ourself is eternal. So I say, walk by the Spirit, and you will not gratify the desires of the flesh. For the flesh desires what is contrary to spirit, and the spirit what is contrary to the flesh. But walk by the fruits of Spirit, which are love, joy, peace, forbearance, kindness, goodness, and faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. So we live by those qualities of Spirit, and we keep step with the Spirit. And each one of us has our own pace. Each one of us has our own footwear. Each one of us has our own experiences. And then I read in Ephesians 6:10, put on the full armor of God so that you can stand against evil schemes. So I immediately think of our military, and I think of the footwear of our military. They are not dainty. They are heavy-duty combat boots, heavy footwear, rugged boots with thick treads to keep them ready to go to war at any moment, at any time, at any place in the world, on any terrain. Those combat boots are strong and sturdy, and they carry them forward. It caused me to wonder, what battles are we personally fighting? What battles are we taking on? How often are we wearing imaginary combat boots? How often are we poised to do battle? Perhaps battle with ourselves in life. What wars are raging inside of us that keep us in a posture to fight, that keep us armed to fight against ourselves or the world? Are our feet planted and ready for battles perceived in our mind, and those that show up in real life? Because life can be challenging. What if we looked at those perceived battles as opportunities? Opportunities to share our heart with others, to sit and have a cup of tea with a neighbor, to listen to one another and our life stories so that we no longer perceive the enemy, but the friend. How often are we willing to see the goodness in life and live those spiritual laws that are always at work and to use them to create a good life for ourselves? How often are we willing to use those perceived battles to grow and stretch ourselves? You know, sometimes we feel like the world happens to us. Rather, we look at the world is happening for us. The world is happening for us so that we can grow into the fullness of who we're here to be, the fullness of our divine self, the fullness of our spiritual beingness. And our life happens so that we can expand and grow and deepen our relationship with ourself, with our spirit self. To grow deeply and to expand broadly so that we can see our own divinity, our own goodness, our own true self, and then we can see the same in others. We can see the goodness in others. We can see the divinity in others, but only when we've taken the time to see it in ourselves. Then there is no political enemy, there is no racial enemy, there is no religious enemy. We are all one in the same body, in the same family of humanity. And that's what putting aside these combat boots allows us to do. So what might our life look like? What might our world look like if we slip out of those combat boots and into something more comfortable? Rather than fighting our way through life as it were a war, perhaps we could breathe into our challenges and yield to the goodness that is perhaps hidden, perhaps deeply hidden, in the midst of the challenge, amidst the disappointments, the losses, the physical, emotional, or spiritual challenges. If I am armored and ready for battle, then battle I will surely see. But if I take off the armor and allow my heart to be out, then I will see something very different. I will see from that place of love, and I will experience that love in return. So I'm not going to minimize the difficulties in life because they're real. They're real and they're really hard. And I'm not going to negate the days that are hard because some days are just hard. It's the way life moves for all of us. But I will acknowledge it and as part of the totality of life. My guess is that when we look back on our life and all that we've experienced, we can see a gentle flow forward, and the gifts, the lessons, the pearls of wisdom in some of those really big challenges and how they moved us forward into being who and what we are today. So it's not about avoiding them, it's about how we deal with them from our point of spiritual growth, for our resilience, and the meaning that we give each moment of life, the meaning that we assign to it, because we have the freedom to do that. And we remember that our thoughts and our words have great power in creating our lives. So have we donned those combat boots, or have we slipped into wingtips and stilettos? Now, these are some of my favorite shoes. When I was a teenager, I put those stilettos on and they never came off. And I call them the fancy shoes of life. They were the shoes that we wear on special occasions, celebrations, and the greatest events of life. For me, they're the shoes that had glitz and bling and buttons and bows and a little lace from time to time and great shine. These were the shoes that I enjoyed wearing. And sometimes these shoes, the stilettos and the wingtips, carry us into places that we think we're supposed to be. The clubs, the organizations, the this and that the world tells us that we are supposed to be part of in order to be considered successful, important, and special by the world's standards. But what I have found about these stilettos, that they carried me places that I was to grow into, places that I could learn how to feel. Learning to walk in high heels takes some practice, right? It took a minute to practice up on those thin heels. But being comfortable as we claim our divine potential, it takes us any place in the world. Anything is possible. Anything is possible. And we can draw bigger and bigger and bigger visions for ourselves when we see that possibility. When I finally learned to walk with ease and with grace, high on those heels, I grew in confidence that I could do anything, and I could do anything in heels. I could go anywhere and be poised and confident in who and what I was. And life translates anything that we can live. We live from that divine part of ourselves. So I trusted and held that the universe was supporting and honoring me, as it does all of us. The universe is always holding the highest good for us. So whether it's wingtips or stilettos, where are you invited to go? Perhaps it's a place or an environment that you might feel uneasy in the beginning, but knowing that with practice and letting your light shine, you'll be a welcomed guest wherever you go. And then finally, we end with house shoes. Who has a pair of house shoes waiting for them? Yes, yes. These are the shoes that give us comfort and warmth in the safe places of our lives. These are the house shoes. They represent our spiritual practices that sustain us, that keep us going in all those other places that might challenge us that might challenge us. Often when we return home at the end of the day, at the end of our adventures, we kick off whatever shoes have carried us throughout and about, and we slip on those house shoes. These are the shoes that wrap us in safety. These are the shoes that know our deepest secrets. They know the private tears of grief. They know the joys that we've not shared with anyone. They know the experiences of losses and the anticipation of readying ourselves for the world. Perhaps we stand in front of the mirror getting ready for that interview or that first date or that other, whatever it is. Those are the shoes that help us be comfortable and feel loved, and they are the shoes that welcome us home. No matter what mood, no matter our disposition, they are the shoes of unconditional love. So look at your feet and what you're wearing. Now look again. If you thought you were simply wearing shoes, look one more time. What are your shoes saying about where you've been and where you have yet to go? Wherever your feet carry you, know that your journey in life is yours. Unique and beautiful and wonderful and yours. You have your own message to share. You have your own life to live. You have your own way of sharing your light and your love with the world. And remember your footprint on the earth as you walk that journey. So walk humbly, walk mindfully, walk with compassion, and most of all, walk with love. Namaste.